welcome to my channel. My name is Kaylee and today I'm going to be doing my January book haul. I would just like to say before I start this video, I have a lot of books here because I've recently started getting back into reading, so I kind of went overboard on buying books. So let's get right into this video because it's going to be a long one. Alright, so I'm not going to be doing this in any order really because I don't remember what order I bought them in. So yeah, let's get started. So the first book I have here I've actually read, and all the books that I've read from this pile I'm going to be talking about more in my January wrap-up. So I'm just going to quickly tell you what they're about. I'm not going to tell you like my thoughts on the book. So the first book I have here is My Friend Dahmer by Durf Backdorf. This is a graphic novel which I don't usually read. This is probably like the first graphic novel I've ever read, but it's written and illustrated by someone who grew up with Jeffrey Dahmer and was actually friends with him, or as close to friends as Jeffrey Dahmer had. I picked this book up because it seemed really interesting and I'm kind of into like murders, and like it taught me a lot about Jeffrey Dahmer that I didn't know about before. So yeah, this was a super cool book and I definitely recommend it because it's gonna be a movie soon. So the next book I have here is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. I'm not positive what this book is about. I just know it's about this girl who's only 16 and she becomes the queen, I think, of England. And I've heard that it's really funny, and I've heard it's a lot like A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I've also heard great things about. So yeah, that's why I picked up this book. I've heard great reviews for it, and I'm definitely excited to read it. So the next book I have here is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is about a world where there are 4 Londons, I believe, and each one has a varying degree of magic. And one of the Londons I know people don't talk about, and it's like seems like this really cool fantasy world. I've heard great things about this book, and it's the first book in a series, so I definitely am excited to get to this book very soon. So the next 2 books I have here I also already read this month, and that is Sparkling Cyanide by Agatha Christie and Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And Then There Were None is about 10 strangers that get sent to this island and they don't know why they're there, and you find out at the beginning that they were all involved in someone's death, and slowly they start dying and you have to try to figure out who the killer is. Sparkling Cyanide is about this girl who commits suicide, or so the police think, and her husband is set out to find out what really happened to her, and if she did commit suicide, then why, because she seemed to have a perfectly happy and normal life. So the next book I have here I bought because I had gotten like a gift card to my local bookstore, and I told myself with all gift cards I received I would buy books that I couldn't justify buying with my own money, meaning double copies of books, different editions of books that I already have, etc. So that book is this beautiful edition of City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. This is the 10th anniversary edition, and honestly the cover is just so gorgeous. There's nothing more to say about that. In case you don't know what City of Bones is, it's about this group of people who are called shadow hunters and they fight demons in New York City, and I picked this up because I literally am in love with this cover. There's really awesome illustrations inside the covers of the book. This is the other one. The pages are gold, and there's also illustrations at the beginning of each chapter, which I think is really awesome, which is why I picked up this book. So the next book I have here is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I know that Sarah Dessen has gotten a lot less popular on BookTube as she used to be, but one of my best friends who also reads loves Sarah Dessen, and I just feel like I always have to pick up her books when they come out because my friend just loves them. I haven't read this yet, but I'm really excited to in the summer, I think, because that's when I'm in the mood for contemporaries the most. This is about a girl whose parents are wedding planners, I think, and something happens, I'm not really sure what, and that's about all I know about this book. But I know how Sarah Dessen writes, and I know I'll like it. That makes sense. So the next book I have here is It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Sugiura, and this book is about a girl who thinks she has a crush on her best friend who's also a girl, and she's trying to figure out that part of her life along with a lot of family and friend drama that's going on, and that's about all I know about this book. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard great things about it and I'm really excited to get to it. So the next book is the book I'm currently reading, so I only have the dust jacket here, but that book is Otherworld by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. And this book is really good so far. It's about this guy who is estranged from his best friend, and he enters into this virtual reality world called Otherworld, and he finds out there's a lot more to this world and a lot more secrets and a lot more life-threatening things that are going on. It's really good so far. I'm about halfway through it and hopefully be finishing it soon, and I'll let you know my thoughts more in my wrap-up. So the next book here I was currently reading before the biennial bibliothon started, but I did stop reading it because I wanted to devote all my time to books I knew I was going to fly through and like, and that book is The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Keen. This book is a science nonfiction, kind of. He talks about the elements on the periodic table, but he also adds in little fun stories about people throughout history who have had adventures or misadventures with these elements, and I'm a little bit disappointed with this book because I expected it to be a lot more stories and a lot less science, and it's turning out to be very science-based, but I am going to give it another chance once the biennial bibliothon ends, so hopefully I'll be talking about this more in my wrap-up. So the next book I have here I just talked about, and that book is A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is about a guy named Percy, and he goes on tour throughout Europe, I think just European countries, and he's in love with his best friend. Or maybe his best friend's in love with him, but he's a bisexual main character, and that's all I know. I hear this book is hilarious, and I'm super excited to get to this in the very near future. So the next book I have here, I know is very disappointing that I haven't read, but I thought it was finally time to pick up a copy of it so I could get into this series, and that book is The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. Yes, I have not read this series yet, but hopefully I'll be reading it soon. I'm not sure what it's about. I know it's a spin-off series to the Percy Jackson series, and that's all I really need to know because I loved Percy Jackson when I was in middle school, and this is the young adult version of Percy Jackson, so I'm really excited to get into this so then I can read some of Rick Riordan's other books. The next book I have here is actually signed, and I saw it in my bookstore, and I saw that it was signed, and I knew I had to get it, and that book is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. This is a murder mystery, and I hear that you find out who the killer is very early on, which usually is not my thing. I like the whole plot twist type deal, but I love Stephanie Perkins, so of course I have to give this book a chance. And of course it's signed, so the next book I have here is Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. This book is about a girl who wants to go to art school, but her parents don't exactly want her to, and it is a Muslim American family. And just as she's deciding to go to New York City for art school, there is a terrorist attack with someone who has the same name as her, and she kind of has to deal with all the prejudice and drawback from that event happening. This sounds a lot like The Hate U Give, and it kind of seems like it's going to be that impactful. And I haven't really heard any reviews from it yet, but I'm definitely going to be reading this in the very near future. Alright, so the next book I have here is Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore, and all I know is this is about a group of women who guard / spend a lot of time in this garden, and if they fall in love too deeply, then their lovers vanish, I guess. And one day this man shows up in the garden, and it's about that kind of adventure. This seems like a really cool magical realism book, which I don't read a lot of, so I'm super excited to read this and see what I think of it. Not to mention that there is a beautiful cover on this book, so how could I resist buying it? Next book I have here is Nemesis by Brendan Reichs. This is about a girl who every year on her birthday gets killed and then wakes up the next day, and so one year she decides she's going to find out who's killing her. This seems really interesting and really cool and kind of like a murder mystery, but also obviously with fantastical elements, which I think is going to be really cool, and I've heard really good reviews about this book, so hopefully I'll be getting to this soon, but I just had to pick it up because it sounded really interesting. And the next book I have here is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the new cover. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about the new cover. I kind of liked the old cover better, only because I'm more partial to matte covers and not shiny covers. And I have no clue what this book is about, I'm not gonna lie. I know everyone loves this book and everyone talks about this book, and it is definitely a BookTube staple, but I haven't read it, so I don't know what it's about, and I haven't really heard exactly what it's about. I just know that it's a high fantasy book, so when I'm in the mood for high fantasy, I'm definitely going to be picking this book up. The third to last book I have here is Scythe by Neil Shusterman, and this book is about a world where there is no death, but when it is time for you to die, someone comes and takes you away, and this person is being trained to be a scythe, which is the person who comes and kills people, and they don't want to be that, but if they don't take that role, then they will die. I've heard only amazing reviews about this book, so I'm definitely excited to be picking this book up very soon. Hopefully next month, that's my goal. Hopefully this month, but I don't know if that's actually gonna happen, so we'll see. Alright, so on to the second to last book I have here is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This book is about a person who has OCD, and I've heard it has really good mental illness representation because John Green himself suffered from OCD, but other than that, I don't know what it's about. I've just heard that he has really grown as a writer and that this is a lot better and a way bigger leap from The Fault in Our Stars, which I remember loving, obviously, when I was like 13, 14, so hopefully I'll really enjoy this book. So the last book I have here for my January book haul is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling. First of all, this cover is absolutely stunning. The back just has a really simple, like, bird on there, and the front has like the main animal from the movie on it. I don't think I'm ever actually going to read this book, but I did watch the movie and I did think that it was important to add this to my Harry Potter collection. So yeah, I picked this up. It was really cheap at Walmart one day, so I thought, why not? Fantastical Beasts and Where to Find Them is a movie, and this is a screenplay based on that movie, and basically it is about this man who comes to New York City in 1926, and he's on a search to find this beast that got loose, and it's creating a lot of havoc. In addition to, a lot of people are really afraid of witches at that time because they didn't really understand it and they didn't really care to learn to understand it. So yeah, it's like a historical yet awesome fantasy, and I definitely enjoyed the movie, so maybe I'll read this one day, but I don't know if I will. So that is all for my book haul. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye!